Welcome back, and we've been joined in our Abuja studio by Mr. Martin Zaloja, editor at The Guardian. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Let's start off with your view on this campaign against hate speeches. What's your take?
Well, you know, this thing is so general. I listened to the first lead speaker from Lagos there. You know, he seems to be concentrating on the electronic media. And I think the danger that we should focus on is in the social media. The social media space that cannot be controlled at the moment. And we are not talking about the 2015 Cybercrime Act and the provisions that are existing. Instead, people are talking about new laws. It is not about absence of laws to deal with this issue. It is about absence of enforcement of the existing laws. Even in 2011, there was an act from this same National Assembly on terrorism, because the acting president the other day linked this hate speech to terrorism. And we are linking the two. And the social media we are talking about now, I think we do not have the capacity to control what people do, because people escape the print media. They bypass even some of the digital platforms, the electronic media, onto the social media, where they commit a lot of these so-called crime against humanity. And it's difficult. I heard the first speaker talking about Rwanda. At the time that happened in 1994, there were just 9.7 million people in Rwanda. When the Tutsis, when the Hutus directed some speeches against the Tutsis, and it went on like that for 100 days. They lost 1 million from 7.3 million people in Rwanda, and the scars are still there. But we are 181 million people, 774 local governments, 36 states, 6 distinct geopolitical zones. The researchers are still counting. We have more than 400 ethnic nationalities. This is a very complex federation. And it is the discussion around the federation and how to reorganize the federation to ensure fairness and justice that you find these hate speeches. And then, unfortunately, public intellectuals and political leaders are not managing this in a way that their followers will find some form of inspiration. And this is the crux of the matter. Public intellectuals, state actors, political leaders, all over the place, who are our representatives in the circumstances, the way they are unusually quiet, the way they are just looking, they just don't look, the way they just wait to benefit from political liges from Abuja, the way public appointments and others, without looking at the implications of what is happening now, is worrisome.
Okay, Dr. Naja, the question I want to ask is, how do we then balance out the freedom of speech? I mean, there's a freedom of speech as guaranteed by the Constitution, and then the part of where you critique the policies or actions of those in leadership. How do we balance all of this out? And at what point do you draw the line against hate speech? Because we have a viewer here who's saying that this campaign is an infringement on the freedom of speech, which is a right guaranteed.
Yeah, definitely there should be some clarification. You cannot suppress freedom of speech or free speech in a democracy. Because if you remove free speech from a democracy, then there's no democracy, because that is the dividend of democracy that we are not talking about. People are talking about road construction, people are talking about electricity, about bridges, about building schools here and there as dividends of democracy. The real dividend of democracy is freedom that you have. We know that this freedom cannot be absolute, but we should look at what the media should be doing, and what the media is doing. You see, democracy, good democracy, is a media affair. Yes, we can talk about regulating how people talk now, but you cannot prevent people from talking about the fundamental reasons these hate speeches are coming up at this time. People are discussing federalism, people are talking about devolution of powers, people are talking about 51 years of lack of progress in Nigeria, 51 years, I mean, from 1966. People are discussing them. Yes, we can talk about regulating them, but you cannot prevent people from talking. We can talk about talking responsibly. The other time, even the president himself was so angry that he described people as irresponsible elements. And after calling them compatriots, the citizens, irresponsible elements. I think we can manage the way we talk about this thing, but free speech is critical to democracy. And if you suppress it in the name of whatever is happening now, then there will be no democracy. That will be dictatorship. I think we should balance this.
Mr. Laga, let me take you back to social media. We have heard some whispers about social media going to be censored. Oh, well, not censored, monitored. How do you think this is going to work out?
Well, it is not going to work out because social media people, you see, as I said before, in this same station, and I think you were part of the discussion points at that time, it's an idea whose time has come. It's a force, as Victor Hugo said. It's an idea whose time has come. There is no force on earth at the moment that can stop the move of the social media. The social media can be controlled. Even in the United States, the courts have restored free speech as an ingredient, that you cannot link free speech to hate speeches, ravaging the United States democracy, even the presidency at the moment. But what we are saying is that it can be managed. There is already a Cybercrime Act of 2015. Law enforcement agencies should study the provisions and see how we can use these provisions to regulate something here or there. Do you know where the social media activists are located? They are of no fixed addresses. You cannot find where they are located. People are located even outside the country. Some are located in the villages. It's access to the internet, and then they blow. So I think we need to work more on our people, on the people, political parties, political leaders, reputation managers, and national orientation agencies to work in the minds of men, because the prelude to the Constitution of UNESCO was talking about the war beginning in the minds of men, and also in the minds of men, that we can talk about solution to these issues that we are discussing. So we need to talk more on people, not to chase social media people, so that social media people will find issues in the polity that will not lead to hate speeches. Because there are issues, we should not ignore the issues, the prevalent issues in the polity that lead to this issue. They don't just come from nowhere. We have been living peacefully. We haven't had the problem of